Welcome to the class today. We are going to be talking about commonly confused words. Hello and welcome. How is everyone doing today? I hope you guys are doing well. I will say I looked kind of crazy getting ready this morning because while I was drying my hair with the blow dryer, it got too hot and it stopped working. So then I was like panicked that my hair wasn't drying, so I went outside and tried to dry my hair in the sun, and then I came back in, and then finally my blow dryer was working again. Yeah, kind of a crazy morning over here. I think you probably would have found it funny. We say running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Also, hello everyone, welcome. I hope you guys are doing well. How's your Saturday going so far? I hope you're ready to learn some English, some easily confused words. I'm glad that you're doing well. Nice. Okay. So, in English, there are a lot of words that are easily confused. So, that's part of why I chose this topic today, not only for English learners, but also English speakers. There are, especially for native speakers, I meant not only for English learners, also for native speakers. There are words that sound the same. And so because as a native speaker, you hear words before you can write them, sometimes we also mix up words for that reason. So hello, welcome, greetings from Australia. Nice. Okay, so I will introduce some easily confused words and ask you what's the difference, and we'll see if we can give some good examples. That's usually how these lives go, so asking questions and give me some examples. So, for example, what is the difference between... I don't live in the US, actually. I live in Chile. I've been living in Chile for 4 years, but I'm from the US originally. What is the difference between effect and effect? My lighting setup. I need to work on my lighting setup so that I can have it, working during the day. It's early here, so I'm using the natural lighting. But I'm trying to get it. I have these lights here that change color. But yeah, during the day you probably would not see them. So, what is the difference between effect and effect? Notice how these two words are pronounced exactly the same. Effect. We're using the schwa sound, and then fecht. Effect. Hello, welcome if you're joining. Today we are talking about easily confused words. So we have the word effect. Okay, so you're giving the definition of fact, which is different. I'm talking about effect with an E and effect with an A. You got one of them right, though. And hello, welcome if you're joining. We're talking about the difference between easily confused words today. The pronunciation of both is exactly the same. The pronunciation is affect, affect, affect. Effect is a noun, like the result of doing an action. Effect is the action itself, like studying hard affected. Yes, but I would say affected me without the word on. Exactly, yes. And same thing like what you said, silly sausage. The music coming from my neighbor's joint is affecting my sleep. So you're using the word affect with an A as a verb, right? The special effects in the movie were top notch. So that would be the difference. Affect with the E is the noun. Yes, it is to affect and unaffect. So remember that because affect begins with a vowel, we will use an, unaffect, instead of the article a. The weather is affecting my mood. Exactly. Yes. So if any of you have an example with either of these, either the verb or the noun. So you can look at the examples that others have written for some inspiration. We have that the weather is affecting my mood. Or if you want to use it like a noun, watching TV has some negative effects on children. Exactly. And then the other word, you guys have also included a fact, which is a different word. But yes, you could also say that that is a different noun. Yeah, so this is one that a lot of native English speakers mix up because they sound exactly the same. Affect and affect. So remember, if you are talking about an action that something really affects you, like the lights are affecting your eyes, a lack of sleep is affecting you negatively, we are going to use the word a. If you're talking about a result of something, or also with movies, they call them special effects if they use fake explosions and that sort of thing. With the E would be a special effect. To affect does imply the negativity or positivity in itself. Definitely you can use affect in a negative way a lot. So like his mean words really affected me. But you could talk about a positive effect of something. Like you could say like the effect that the new technology has on kids was positive. But I think, yeah, if you only use the word by itself, you could use it in a negative way. Like, his comment really affected me. If you said that, I would understand in a negative way. Yeah, exactly. But if you specify a positive effect, it could be used positively as well. Affect, we are directly involved in a process. Not necessarily. It's that some process has a specific result on you that changes something or has the power to do something. So you could say that for example, if a new technology affected you, it's like the new technology did something that changed your life, for example. So it's more about the end result, that it was able to change something about you or have a result or implication on you. The effect of the helicopter crash has a decline in tourism in New York City. Yes. What is the difference between effects and efforts? They're kind of like opposites in a way on different ends of the process. Your effort is like the force or motivation you use to do something. And the effect is what happens afterwards. So you put in a lot of effort studying, and then the effect is that you get good grades. You put in a lot of, or maybe the team had a great effort working together, and the effect is that the team won the competition, for example. So the effort is, I would say that effort is something you can control, and the effect is the result, which you can try to control parts, but not always. Okay. I'm going to go to another set of words. Okay. We have, how about these? Whose and whose. What's the difference? I find that a lot of people get mixed up with the word whose. So we'll practice that. Let me see what you guys were saying about the previous one. The technology affects me. It's an effect on me. Yeah, exactly. You could combine the word affect with on. It's an effect on me, or it has an effect on me as well. Yeah, I would say actually it's more common to use with it has an effect on me. Effort is what I do to get results. The result is the effect. Exactly. Rapidly changing environment affects business so much. Yes, exactly. That's a great sentence. Nice. And hello, if you are joining, we are talking about easily confused words in English. So far we did affect and effect. Now we're doing whose and whose. So whose is a possessive thing. Whose is a WH question asking about the doer. Yes, that's a very good explanation. I find that whose is one of those WH question words that people have the most confusion with because it's different from the others. Like when you're structuring a sentence with whose, we typically use whose combined with a noun. So like whose shoes, whose pants, whose laptop. So that's pretty different from other WH words. Whose car is it? Exactly. Yes. There must be a word after whose. I would say there must be a word after both of them, but the word after whose must be a noun, if that makes sense. So I'll write an example here because I think that they took away my filter. Yeah, I can't write on my whiteboard. That's okay. So for example, you could say, whose car is this? Yes. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to pin what Fabio said because that was a good example. So we have both of these. Again, the reason that these are also confusing is that they are pronounced exactly the same, these two words. We have whose, which is a possession question word, and then whose, which is a contraction of who is. So that would be the difference with these two. honestly, when I was younger, this was something that I really struggled with. Not really struggled with, but mentally, I always needed to decide if it were possible to say who is, and that gave me the indication that it was whose or whose. So, for example, with the example that Fabio gave, if you look at whose class is this and you're deciding which word to write, in my mind, when I was younger, I would think, who is class is this? No, that's not possible. So I need to use whose because I can't divide that into who is. So that was kind of like a little mental check that I would use. With contraction words, same thing with it's, right? It's is a possession word. It's also a contraction word. Is it possible to say it like two separate words? And that gives you kind of like a little clue. So whose plus noun? Yeah, remember that in English, we call them a noun, would be a person, place, or thing. But I would say whose with the apostrophe S, yeah, you often use it with an ing verb, like who's going, who's invited, who's that man, right? So you could use it also with a person. If you want to know who is that man, who's that man? And so that's where it gets a little tricky, where if it's that you're asking about the person, or are you asking about the owner of an object? So that would be the difference with whose and whose. Who's that girl exactly? Have any of you watched the TV series New Girl? Because that's, they have a song that's like, who's that girl? Hello, welcome to the class. I'm doing well today. How are you? We're talking about easily confused words, like whose and whose. Yeah, so if you have any other examples, definitely write them. I will remind you that these are both pronounced the exact same. So you could see it as a difficult thing that these words are easily confused, but you can also see it like an opportunity to have a pronunciation tip. Oh, these two words are pronounced whose. Whose. Yeah, who's in order? Do you mean like who's in charge? Like who's in charge here? Who's... And okay, so this is an example. Remember, Carlos, it will be who's with the apostrophe in that case. Because what you're really saying is who is. Who's with an apostrophe S. Who's that girl? So anytime, yeah, you could say who's in power. That would be more like if someone is in political power or something like that. If you're at work, it would be who's in charge. In power sounds like a monarchy or presidency or like authoritarian or something if you're talking about work. But yeah, depends on the context. If you're talking about like a government, for example. Okay, were versus where. Okay. Yeah, we can talk about this. Also, if you guys have words that you commonly confuse, maybe I can also answer some of those. Because there are so many. So, of course, if you have any examples yourself of were versus where, definitely you can write them as well. Whose purse is lying on the table over there? Exactly. Yes. Whose purse is lying on the table over there? Nice. Okay, were versus where. So first of all, we have the pronunciation difference with these two. I will say there's a word pronounced exactly like where. There are two wheres, right? So we have the pronunciation of were. Okay. Actually, now I'm realizing. Okay. This is actually what I was thinking. That it goes a lot deeper than this. And this is one of those moments where I really wish I could flip my camera to show you guys. But, okay, so the first one here. And if you can give me examples, please, in the chat, because I think people will definitely need some written examples. Where were you when I needed you? Yes. So if you want an indication, you can look at the one that Silly Sausage wrote, which is, where were you when I needed you? Where is always going to be this question word. You could use where in the sense of asking the question, where were you? Or you can say it's a place where you can buy lunch, right? So you can use it in a sentence like a relative clause. It's a place where you can buy lunch. Always talking about places. Something that can help you to remember the pronunciation with that one and this word in general is that in order to respond to a question of where, you can say there. Where is it? There. Where is she? There she is. So that's one thing that can help you is that where kind of goes together with there, basically. Where's my phone? On the table. Asking about place. Were is the past to be. We were so excited so excited for the new movie. Where were we when we were in the bad weather last week? Some of these are like tongue twisters. Were all ears now, teacher. Exactly. Where were you when we were there? Yes. Okay. I wish I were bilingual. Yeah, you could use it for wish also because it's the past of the verb to be. Another tip is that with these words that I wrote here, we have were like we are, right? Were all ears. And were like the past of are. Both of these are pronounced the same. And both of them include are in a certain way. So we have were like we are. So we're ready. We're a big family. And then we have were like the past tense of were. We were ready. We were a big family. So you can kind of think of these together in a sense that they're pronounced similarly, and one of them is the contraction with the verb are, and the other is kind of like the past tense of the verb are. The last two are also pronounced the same. Where, similar to bear, like the animal, or care, or stare. Where. So we have you wear clothes, and where are you? You're there wearing the clothes. Were in your house. We were in his house yesterday. Where are you? Are you wearing clothes? So these can be very confusing, but I find that if you can kind of don't connect these words to each other as much, try to connect them to other relevant concepts. So, for example, don't connect were and where. Try to connect where and there. Where and there. And were with the word are, right? So try to, as a tip, try to connect words that have a relevant context with each other instead of words that are just written similarly to each other. Because in English, there are a lot of unrelated words that kind of share letters. So I would say don't necessarily connect those words to each other. Where were we when we were in the weary weather where we wondered where you were? Also, if any of you guys need some speaking pronunciation practice, I recommend reading this 3 times fast. Any of these sentences. Where did you find these lovely clothes we're wearing? Nice, exactly. Yeah, so that's what I would say about these ones. Remember that the ones that are basically W-E-R-E are related to the verb to be, or are, and then where with the W-H is similar to there, talking about in that place. Any other words? I'm going to open it up for if any of you have easily confused words that you can think of. Feel free to write them here. So if there are 2 words that you often confuse, feel free to comment them and I'm happy to respond. Also, I got a message about preparing for a TOEFL exam. Unfortunately, right now, I am not doing that type of class. There are quite a bit of resources online that I would say are great. But yeah. Okay, specially and especially. So this is one that I hear a lot of Spanish speakers in particular mixing up. I think because... Am I late? No, we're like 27 minutes into the class. Okay, if you're saying effect and effect, I already explained this one. So if anyone has their example from before of effect and effect, basically the one with the A is the verb and the one with the E is the noun. So that is affecting me with an A, or it had an effect with an E on me. Okay, I always get confused by specially and especially. So especially is when we're talking about something that is maybe more important than the others, or yeah, for example, I love working with children, especially, 10-year-old children, for example. Like if you want to draw attention to something in particular, you could use especially. Specially, that would be like you do something for a special reason. Like, I prepared this food especially for you. Yeah, I would say, like, to be honest, I don't really use the word specially so much in day-to-day conversations. It would be that you do something in particular with the intention for one specific thing. Whereas especially would be that one thing is kind of more important or you're drawing attention to it. So the word specially is more related to the action itself, and the word especially is related to something being more important to mention than the other things. So like you do something specially, someone prepares something specially. You, yeah, it's more related to the action itself, versus especially would be more like, you're making a comment and then you want to draw attention to one thing in particular. I love meeting new people, especially when I have had a coffee first, like even more in this situation. So I would say that's the main difference. Hi, Will. How are you doing today? We're talking about easily confused words. So maybe you can help us. I was talking about the difference between specially and especially. Let me read what you guys were saying here. Ooh, okay, I like this one that you said, Hamza, at the end and in the end. So I'm going to go to that one next. But yeah, does that make sense with specially and especially? I would say that specially is used in fewer situations because you're talking about an action that you did for a special reason. And especially is used in more cases to say like one part is more important than the other parts. Yeah, so you could say, I especially enjoy watching your teachings. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Okay, so we have two similar ones, which are when we use at and in for referring to the end and the beginning. Okay, so, for example, you could say, let me think of examples. If you guys have any examples, definitely write them as well. So, for example, you can say, with a place, if you are in a place, I'm at the end of your street. I'm at the end of the hall. I'm at the end of, I don't know, when you're at the end of a place, like on the far edge, I would always use at. I'm at the end of the street. When you're talking about time as well, maybe he can talk to you at the end of the week. He can talk to you at the end of the day. So when we're talking about kind of a place or time that's more specific, I would say that in the end reminds me of that song that's like by Linkin Park. That's like, I tried so hard to get so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. It's like, in the end is kind of more, it's less literal. It's like after everything has finished, it doesn't even matter. So at, I would say, is used in a more literal way with times and places. And in is like, after everything's finished, this is how I feel. Yeah, in the end is kind of like finally, exactly, yeah. I used to sit at the end of the row back in high school, but in the end, it affected my results. Exactly. Yeah, so the sentence that Silly Sausage wrote here is really good. I'm at my wit's end. Yeah, you could also say if you're kind of at your limit, I'm at my wit's end. I'm at the end of my rope. Like, I have no more patience. There are some, phrases that you can use there. In the end is not followed by off. Your singing has a positive effect on me. I feel like I find a way to sing in every class. It's because I always think of the song lyrics. I want to talk to you at the end of the day. Exactly. It's like I wanted to talk to him at the end of the day, but in the end, he didn't want to talk to me, so he just left. It's like, what was the final result? In the end, this happened. But anytime you're talking about a physical time or place, we're going to use at the end. So thinking about the same thing, at the beginning and in the beginning was another question. At the beginning or in the beginning. At the beginning of, I'm at the beginning of the book. I'm at the beginning. I would say in some cases it makes more sense to say at the start also. I'm at the start of the day. I'm at the beginning. And then in the beginning is kind of like saying at first. In the beginning, everything was easy, but now it's not. So I would say with both of these, when we're talking about something a little more literal, like the time or place, we're going to use at. In is used in these cases more with a metaphorical use. Kind of like, how did you feel at first? How did you feel finally after everything was done? So at will be used with a more specific, literal time or place. And then in will be used more like in a metaphorical way. Yes, exactly. At the beginning of the session. Or in the beginning. Yeah. That's kind of like in the Bible, right? In the beginning, there was no light. And then God said, let there be light. Okay. So yeah, that's what I would say for those ones. That's why it's important to note with this word at, sometimes people say, oh, well, at is used only for general things because, for example, if I say at the supermarket, that's more general, and in the supermarket is more specific, that I'm inside the supermarket. But the tricky thing about at is that it's used for the most general and also the most specific. I'm at the supermarket. Where? Inside? Oh yeah, I'm in the supermarket. Where? At the end of the aisle. So it's like the most general and also the most specific would be at. The most general and then talking about a specific point would be. Whereas in is used more like the metaphorical way and then like inside of a space. I'm trying to find this one. Okay. Sensitive and sensible. At the beginning, the book was pretty heavy going. Nice. I like that. I am at the hospital and I am in the hospital. Yes, true. If you just say I am at the hospital, I don't know if you are a patient, if you're visiting the hospital, or if you work at the hospital. Are you Uber Eats and you delivered something to the hospital, right? I'm at the hospital, could be anything. I'm in the hospital. That's more like you got an injury and now you're in the hospital in a room receiving medical attention. So that's a good distinction. Okay. Also, don't write anything creepy because I'm going to ignore it. Means you are a patient. Exactly. In the beginning, it began. I like that. All right, so going now to these two words, sensitive and sensible. Does anyone know the difference between sensitive or sensible? I'm a sensitive person, and it's very sensible to take an umbrella if it rains. Yes, exactly. Yes. I think that this is especially hard if you're a Spanish speaker because sensible is an amigo falso with sensitive or with sensible. So sensitive is like a person who is affected easily by things. If you're very sensitive, it is often used to say affected easily emotionally. So if you tell your friend, I don't want to spend time with you today, and this person is very sensitive, maybe they can say, oh, is it because you hate me? Or for example, if you have an allergy, that could be called a food sensitivity, like Silly Sausage said here. I'm sensitive to seafood. Exactly. So if you have a food sensitivity, may I know what your native language is? English is my native. I'm from the US. He is sensitively sensible. I don't know if I've ever heard someone say that phrase together. Yes, I would say. So sensitive could be emotional. I would say in general, sensitive is like you're affected easily by things. It could be that your emotions are affected easily. If you only say, he's a sensitive person, that I understand emotionally. But you could also say, oh, my stomach is sensitive, or sensitive skin. There is a lot of skincare for people with sensitive skin. And that means that if you have any sort of chemicals in the skincare, it creates a rash or it makes you red, for example. So if you have a part of your body that responds to chemicals, that could be that you are sensitive. Same thing with your emotions. If you respond to something, you're sensitive. I would say maybe a way to remember. Yeah, so also in Italian, I imagine too, it's similar to in Spanish. These are false cognates. So you might see the word sensible and think about sensitive. So one thing that you can do maybe to connect it, I'm neither of them, so I don't understand them. Yes. Maybe, okay, one thing that you can do, here's the, like what I said before. When we have these easily confused words, one thing that we can do is instead of relating the words to each other so that you have an association between them, try to find a different association with each word. So we have sensible is similar to reasonable, for example. Sensible, reasonable. They both have the bull. Sensible is like reasonable. Sensitive could be, it has the IT, like itchy, like, oh, I'm sensitive. I'm itchy, I'm sensitive to this chemical that is in my sunscreen. So I would recommend something like that. Maybe we can find a different word to associate with each of them so you don't associate them with each other. Reasonable, sensible. Oh my gosh, also in German, sensitive is the word sensibel. That's funny. Yeah, I just thought of that idea just now. So it's a half-baked idea, but maybe that could be a video. Emotionally sensitive. Exactly. There were, someone else asked about one before. Okay, I always get confused when I use I've gone or I've been. Okay, yeah, this is a good question. So if anyone has, again, an example with I've gone, I am, okay, so what I would say here is I'm a very sensible person. Yes, I'm a very sensible person. Sensitive combined with skincare. Exactly. Exactly. Sensitive is like thinking about skincare, or if you have a food sensitivity also. That could help too, because sensitivity and sensibility are a little bit more different. Like you have the, I don't know, maybe not, but a food sensitivity. Okay, so I've gone and I've been. These, for example, if you're talking about visiting a country, this is one where I feel like you would use more I've been. I've been to China. I've been to China would be way more common compared to I've gone to China. I've gone there. I would say that I've been focuses on like actually visiting a place, and I've gone means like maybe if it's more temporary, like an event, or I don't know, like I've gone fishing before. I've gone on a hike before. I've gone like related to the journey of going somewhere, kind of. And then I've been is used more like when you've been to a place, like this question, have you ever been to India? It's used more to say like visited, in a sense. I've been. I've never been to India. Yeah. For example, with Spanish speakers, they say a lot, ¿conoces este lugar? In English, we do not use the word know with places so much. It's more with people. In English, the best thing to say is, have you been? Have you been? It's like to say, do you know this place? Or have you visited this place would be the idea. I've gone and returned. I've been and visited. Yes, I would say that's a good way to think about it also. Exactly. I have gone swimming. Yeah, also anytime gone one way only, been you went to the place and came back. I've gone. Yeah, I'm thinking like anytime you're talking about travel and visiting, it sounds better when you're just talking about the country or city to say I've been. But it's interesting because like you might hear a person say, I think it wouldn't be correct, but some native speakers might use I've been in more cases than that. But yeah, good question. I would just associate I've been with the context of visiting another place, and then I've gone with kind of like these specific activities that you leave in order to do. I've been to and I've been in. I've been to would be better when you're talking about a country. I've been to China. I've been in would be, I think when you're talking about a city or a place, it's better I've been to. I've been in would be better in a context where you need to use the preposition in. I've been in line for 40 minutes. I've been in a race before. I've been in a stadium, maybe. Yeah, I would say two with countries and cities in general, and in with phrases where you need to use the word in, like in line, that are more specific. And also, yeah, that's what I would say. I'll stop there. There was another one that I thought was good that I wanted to answer here. Okay. It was this one because I have mixed this up myself. A lot of native speakers mix up this of lay versus lie. To lie is like you yourself as the subject are doing it. Like if you lie down, you lie. Yes, exactly. I've been in queue for a very long time. Yes. Lie is like you yourself with your physical body or like a person or animal lies down. Lay is if you put an object in the position of laying. So I lie on the beach, or I lay my towel on the beach and then I lie down on my towel. That would be lay versus lie. It depends if you're talking about the person or the object. Here is a trick that I just thought of. Lay goes with objects because we pay for objects. So I lay my towel because I paid for my towel. Lie goes with people because people lie. I don't know if that helps you. You can think about it that way. Again, just to give another association so you can think of those words separately and not as like a unit together. Then we have rise and raise. Yeah, I haven't thought about that before. Lay down your weapons. Exactly. Yes. So that's a really good example. Lay down your weapons. Yeah. So if you think about it, you paid for your weapons. Lay down your weapons. Raise and rise. Okay, one weird thing is if you get an increase in your salary, in the United States, we call this a pay raise, that you got a raise. In the UK, they call it a rise. So that's one weird thing. If you guys if you speak English, like North American English, like Canada, US, I would use raise, like I got a pay raise. And if you speak British English, you might hear I got a rise. I haven't worked in an office in the UK, so I don't know, but based on all of the, kind of like publications and that sort of like content that I've consumed from the UK, it seems like they use the word rise instead. Do the native speakers use lay every day? It seems to me uncommon. Yes, we do. Actually, this word is very common, but we often use it incorrectly. So, I feel that we use lay more when talking. Someone actually told me in one of my videos, I made a video where I was at the beach. I don't know if you guys saw it. And I said, when we lay down on the beach, we say I'm sunbathing. And someone in the comments pointed out that I used lay, but I should have used lie. So we use lay all the time in the wrong way. I'm gonna go lay down or lie down. A lot of people use both to talk about a human. Lay for objects, like the correct use of lay, is pretty context specific. So I think that when we're talking about, it's pretty context specific. Like if you're instructing someone to do something, you're like setting up a tent. You could be like, okay, lay it down here. Okay, then do this. Like if you're telling someone to spread something on the ground, which is a pretty specific context, if that makes sense. How do we know if the shadows are late or if they are really lying? That is a very deep question. Rise does not need an object, but raise does need an object. Let me think. I feel like they both do. Like everyone rise. I feel like they both need a noun, but I'm thinking of just different examples. Yeah, you raise your arm or you raise your hand. The fire rises higher and higher. The boss will raise the salary next month. I say I'm getting burnt when I lie on the beach. Yeah, so it would be you raise your hand, you raise your arm. When it's like a specific thing that you are controlling. For me, raise is like a person is doing it to another thing. That's what it is. It's like it has a subject and an object instead of only an object. So for example, it's like I raise my hand. Like I'm doing it to my hand. I raise my hand. Or I could say like my hand is rising, like without me controlling it, basically. So think about it this way. The sunrise, right? Like the sun rises. It does it on its own. It's not like another person there controlling the sun. This is used with things like the example of fire or phenomena that happen in nature would be that something rises. Like steam rises. The sun rises. Think of the word sunrise. Raise is like raise your hand. A person is controlling the fact that that's happening. That's why, for me, I'm biased because I'm from the US, but it makes more sense to me, the use of the word raise for a salary raise, because like your boss gives you a raise or raises your salary. But of course, everyone has their bias. The way that you grow up speaking a language will always affect the way that you see the language. So yeah, that's what I would say is the difference with raise and rise. Hello, how's it going? Good morning. Yeah, I'm thinking someone else asked a question that was like, acquire, what was it? Acquire versus raise your gaze. Yeah, exactly. So it's like you're controlling your eyes. So you move your eyes upwards. Exactly. When it's a body part, we're going to use raise. When it's a phenomenon that happens in nature. Okay, that's what it was. Obtain and acquire. Okay, so these are often synonyms. He rose the rose. Expect and accept. Ooh, I could see people flipping a sound there. Okay, acquire and obtain. Acquire to me has more of the sensation that the person is actively doing something. I mean, these are synonyms, really, so they're very similar. Yeah, these are very similar. For me, there's a slight difference maybe if you say obtain versus acquire. I feel like acquire is more that there was an effort from the part of the person doing the action. Like he acquired a name for himself versus he obtained is like he kind of just received it. Maybe not specific. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion about this one. I feel like I would need to think about it more. Acquire often implies gaining something through effort or learning, while obtain focuses more on the act of getting or receiving. Yes, perfect. Thank you. Exactly. This is a great way of explaining it. A company can acquire a little one. Yes, exactly. That's a good example. So thank you guys. My brain wasn't working, but now I understand. Okay. So for example, if you're thinking in the context of a company, if one company buys another company, yeah, they acquire the company. If you just obtain a company, this is like, did you buy it? Did you just receive the company? Like, where did it come from? Yeah, so that would be the difference between acquire and obtain. Acquire is like, both of them are ways to say to get something. But to acquire implies more gaining something through effort. Like Deshant said. And okay, don't know if you talked about it, but could you do a video on made of, made from, made with, and made out of? Okay. Yeah, this is another one where I feel like I'll have to think about it more with more examples. Because if you make something from scratch, you make something from zero, like you made everything yourself. If something's made from wood or made of wood, I would say made from focuses a little bit more on the manufacturing process or the process of creation, and made of just focuses on, okay, like what are the physical materials that were used to create this, if that makes sense. I actually have a video about this word, I'd. I did a whole reel about it. I'd. It rhymes with side. I'd. I would. The difference between chaff and husky. That's too British for me. I don't use the word chaff, so I don't really know how they use it. The wine is made from grapes. Yes. Okay, that's a good example too. So when we're talking about something with an origin of a fruit, wine is made from grapes because grapes had one form and there was an entire industrial process that then transformed them into wine. Wood is one of those things where we could use it both ways because the wood maintains its similar properties if something's made from wood or made of wood now. Yeah, so if something really transforms in the way that it is, it would be better to use something like it's made from versus made of. So, like, tofu is made from soybeans, for example. So often with food, it would be made from. That something is made from is one way to think about it. But yeah, I think there are other kind of subtle differences. I would just say that if something has like a big transformation, it only makes sense to use made from. if something kind of continues to be made and you're focusing on the material now, you could say it's made of cotton, it's made of wood, etc. If that makes sense. It's like, are you focusing on the raw original material, or are you focusing on what the material is now, if that makes sense? Hello, welcome everyone. Someone asked the difference between busy and hectic. I would say these are synonyms, so there's not a big difference. The word busy is, actually, scratch that. Ignore what I just said. In some contexts, they're synonyms, not always. So, if you're talking about your week, you could say, I had a busy week, or I had a hectic week, which is a little stronger. I had a busy week, I had a hectic week is like busy but kind of crazier. In other contexts, like if someone is not able to come to the phone right now, if you're talking about people not having time, you would say the boss is busy, not the boss is hectic. Hectic would be like he's crazy and not organized or something. Yeah, busy means having a lot to do, while hectic adds the idea of chaos. Yeah, exactly. So when you're talking about people just not having time, it's better busy. If you're talking about your week being super full and crazy, you could use both. Hectic would be a little stronger. Okay, we'll end with this as like a final thing, because I've been live for like an hour now. So maybe the final tongue twister we can do today. I don't know. Probably you guys know this one. It's just the one that comes to mind off the top of my head is, tired from or tired of. I need another, class like this that's just like, what's the difference between these two things? So we can continue that maybe. Okay. She sells seashells by the seashore. This is the one that we'll do. She sells seashells by the seashore. Okay, this is our tongue twister. So, if you're in your house, also if you're on the metro, or like you can mouth it along with us. Okay. She sells seashells by the seashore. She sells seashells by the seashore. She sells seashells by the seashore. If you can't do it quick, start slow. So like it's harder slow maybe. She sells seashells by the seashore. 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 And then we have, this is a difficult one. But I think this is a really good one, actually, for you guys to practice. Especially the flap T, the der. So if you have a difficult time with the flap T, I would change that it's Betty. So like the name would be Betty. Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some more butter to make it better. Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some more butter to make it better. Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some more butter to make it better. Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some more butter to make it better. Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some more butter to make it bitter. I think that was pretty fast. Betty bought some butter to Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some more butter to make it better. Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some more butter to make it better. Oh my god, you remember that tongue twister because of Josie and the Pussycats. That's funny. I didn't remember that they said that tongue twister in Josie and the Pussycats. All right, could anyone do it faster than me? Oh yeah, this is a harder one too. Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. This is hard, especially because a lot of people struggle with the R's and L's. Honestly, this one might be more difficult for me than the Betty Butter one. Red lorry, yellow lorry, red, because lorry is hard to say. Red lorry, yellow lorry, yeah. Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. But you can feel the exercise, right? So this is honestly something that you guys should do. I don't know if you want to get more comfortable with like the mouthfeel of English and the way that to make the sounds. I definitely do recommend tongue twisters and practicing your pronunciation, because the more comfortable you feel pronouncing, the more speaking confidence you're going to have. It will actually help you a lot in conversations. Your students find it difficult too, I'm sure. I honestly, if you guys aren't able to say these quickly, that you're not alone. So even as a native speaker, they're tricky. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off for the day, but thank you all for joining in this live class about commonly or easily confused words. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. All right. Buen dia. Well, yeah, so I changed the time of the live because the time in Chile changed, but in every other country it stayed the same, so I made it 1 hour earlier. Okay, bye guys, take care.